Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. The conversations continue this morning on Nigeria at 63. And we're going to be looking at the economic landscape. The executive director of the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center, RULAC, Okechukwu Wanguma, has described Nigeria at 63 as a failed country. Wanguma, in an article which was titled, he regretted that after 63 years of Nigeria's independence and 24 years after the country returned to elective government, following nearly 2 decades of military interruption of a democratic experiment, Nigerians have nothing to celebrate as a country.
Let's take a look at what the president had to say about the economy in his address yesterday.
Back on a several sector reform to stabilize the economy, direct physical and monetary policy to fight inflation, encourage production, ensure the security of lives and property, and lend more support to the poor and the vulnerable. Based upon our talks with labor, business, and other stakeholders, we are introducing a provisional wage award increment to enhance the federal minimum wage without causing undue inflation. For the next 6 months, the average low-grade worker shall receive an additional 25,000 naira per month.
Let's now bring in economic analyst Nnaemeka Obiaraeri. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Oli.
Of course, my first question would be your reactions to the speech by the president. You just saw an excerpt of the clip that was posted. Looking at Nigeria's economic landscape, do you think that that speech showed that moves were being made? First of all, did the speech inspire hope for Nigeria in the economic landscape?
Olive, over the last 9 years, we've been hearing the stories of we're going to fix security, we're going to stop insurgency and banditry. What Nigerians want to know and want to hear is how and the timelines. Like I've always maintained, to pay 25,000 naira to civil servants over the next 6 months, less than 1 million civil servants, when we have a population of about 133 million multidimensional poor Nigerians who are not civil servants, and 95% of Nigerians who do not earn enough wages or income to take them all through the month. Giving 25,000 naira every month in the next 6 months to less than 1 million civil servants is not the panacea to the problems we have in Nigeria. Olive, I've always maintained to fix insecurity in Nigeria, which is the greatest disincentive for any foreign direct investment or even local investment in Nigeria, is the easiest thing any sincere government can do. We are not asking them to do anything very unusual. We are not asking them to do anything that involves skyrocket science. We have a history as a country. Between 1960 to 1966, Nigeria was very, very safe. You can enter 911 truck in Port Harcourt and drive all night to Kano without anybody molesting you or stopping you or kidnapping you. Then we had a regional constitutional physical framework that allowed the regions to have their own police, to have maintained their own security. Most of the things we have today in the fraudulent 1999 constitution, in the exclusive list for the federal government, was what the regions and constituencies were doing. The rail, the port, the roads, the security. In fact, it was recorded in the 1964, 1965, that when there was problem in one of the Central African countries and they wanted to hire police people to go and make peace, they requested for the police force of the old Eastern Nigeria because they were reputed to be the most efficient, to be most professional. If President Tinubu wants to fix insecurity, he is one of the advocates of restructuring of Nigeria since 1999. I don't know what changed when they grabbed power in 2015. They forgot everything that they said. Tinubu is on record as one of those that called for sovereign national conference, one of those that called for decentralization and devolution of powers, one of those that called for us to go back to the constitutional and physical and resource control framework that worked for us in the early 60s. Security everywhere in the whole world is indigenous. If you go to the United States, where we borrow their democracy, they have state police, they even have municipal police. And of course, those police are not appointed by the governors or the president. Most of the municipal police and state police are done by election. You elect the most competent to provide security. The structure is such that the police is very independent. That was why an inspector of police who had an altercation with Obama. Obama invited him over for a beer for them to reconcile their differences. Such cannot happen in Nigeria. Imagine an inspector of police having an altercation with President Tinubu. They will even sack him even before the inquest begins. So I think we need to go back to the basics. What do we want to do and how do we want to do it? The foundation here is that we are a monoproduct economy, wholly import dependent, and even the monoproduct now, we've lost half of our production to thieves and inefficiency. We can't even earn enough forex from that monoproduct crude oil to even sustain 3 months import. Basically, what we want to do, if we want to fix this land, and Tinubu knows this truth, it's not enough just to grab power, run with it and hold it. We need to totally restructure the physical, constitutional, socio-economic governance, resource production and control framework of Nigeria back to what we used to have in 1960 to 1966. We need to carry out massive electoral reform. The OIS report must be implemented to the letter. Because without electoral reform, where you have election, grab out. In fact, today in Nigeria, those who purport to rule us are products of INEC fraudulent activities and the judiciary, which has actually become judiciary. Because from what we have seen today, the level of banditry, it was recorded by TI report that 95% of those in the executive arm of government are very corrupt. The executive arm of government, 94%, judiciary 65%. But from what we are seeing today, I can tell that the judiciary has actually moved the ante of perfidy to the level of the executive and legislature. And the only thing that can make us and help us to bring sanity to Nigeria, to reset this country, we need to carry out massive constitutional, structural, physical, socio-economic, resource production and control, overhaul, institutional reform to the highest level. We need to carry out judicial reform. We need to carry out security reform, massive security reform. We need to fight corruption from the foundation. You don't fight corruption by mounting. You fight corruption by providing deterrence. And we have made suggestions on how these things can be done. For you to fight corruption, everybody must be seen to be above, nobody will be seen to be above the law. First of all, amend the CCB and EFCC Act. Make the EFCC truly independent. The president cannot determine who becomes the EFCC chairman at his own whims and caprices. He nominates 6 qualified people. It must not be only police and military men. In fact, investment bankers and lawyers are even will make even better EFCC chairman because it requires brain and not brawn. 6 nominations from 6 zones. Send it to National Judicial Council. The NJC will now interview and pick 1 out of those 6. And then the one that is selected will go to National Assembly for confirmation or...
Mr. Obiaraeri, kindly hold on. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, I think we are also at the age where you also cannot read, you know, these type of things or take politics out of these type of things. Because even in the United States, like we always use as a model, they're also not very corruption-free. And you would also see politics play out, even with these type of decisions that you're talking about. Yes, they have stronger institutions, but we've also seen those institutions being weaponized, you know, at, you know, certain politicians every now and then. So, but, I mean, we still would use them as a, you know, model for how democracy should work, how institutions should work. But I would like you to go on with what you're talking about now. There's a new CBN governor that has been appointed. You know, he's, you know, being said to be very, very knowledgeable into what would be required to make Nigeria's economy better and to stabilize the Naira and to stabilize, you know, to some extent, the CBN. Do you think it's a waste of time if we don't fix these things that you've mentioned? And we're talking about agriculture, the stealing of Nigeria's crude, the corruption, allegedly, in the NNPC, the flaring of gas, the lack of, you know, proper structure in our solid mineral sector. We now have Mr. Dele Alake there. And many other things, security, like you've mentioned, infrastructure, electricity. If we don't fix all these things one after the other, is the new CBN governor only going there to, you know, once again, waste his time? In your opinion?
Osarogie, there's nothing Cardoso will do. Forget all the rhetorics, all their promises. If the foundation is faulty, if the foundation is faulty, even the righteous can do nothing. Even if you bring a Langun spanner, put him at the CBN, with the current constitutional physical deformities, he will do nothing. Osarogie, our foundation is 40. See, the twin monsters destroying Nigerians is the twin monster of corruption, the twin monster of insecurity. And these are symptomatic manifestations of our 40 foundation. And that 40 foundation must be fixed. Corruption and insecurity are the major outcome of our 40 foundation. I will explain to you. Cardoso is only going to be managing our monetary policy. Cardoso is not going to manage our fiscal sector of the economy. And 99% of the problems we have in Nigeria are from the fiscal sector. 60% of the demand pressure on the dollar is corruption driven. And before I lose my track, I told you what we're going to do. To fight corruption is very simple. Every policy, see, Obama, before he became president, we knew his net worth. It was not hidden with his wife, what they owned and what they owed. When Obama left, we knew his net worth. Obama's net worth before he became president was less than about 3 million with his wife. When he left, it was about 75. And they told us how that 75 came about. Mostly book royalties from his wife and all the things that they did. So you could see clearly, there's nobody in the US, the National Assembly, State Assembly, the former president, that would not know their net worth. They declare it openly. There's nothing to hide. Here in Nigeria, they will fill some forms, even anticipate what they will steal and submit as CCCB, and people clap for them. If we want to sincerely fight corruption, they know what to do. Let every public office holder, even the civil servants, they are the center of corruption, declare their assets publicly. And that public declaration is put in an e-portal, accessible to every Nigerian. You know, it has been argued, if you don't want to the heat, don't go to the kitchen. If you don't want to occupy public office, it's very transparent. It requires accountability. Stay in your private sector space. When that is done, the CCB Act is amended to accommodate this. It's public disclosure in an e-portal, annually reviewed. Now, on the Whistleblowing Act, enshrine it in such a way that if any Nigerian helps to blow a whistle and a corruption is detected, whatever is recovered, they receive 10-20% of it. By doing it, every Nigerian become an EFC agent. Even the brothers and sisters of the corrupt official will be the ones reporting them openly, telling them what they own before they enter there and what they've stolen from the treasury. And these are deterrent measures. When there is deterrence, let me tell you, you said something very important. Nigerians are not more corrupt than Americans or the Britishers. But the problem is that the deterrence there is what puts everybody in check. Is what will make Obama not to go there and begin to allocate oil well to his wife, his brother-in-laws in Kenya, his brothers in Kenya, and all the rest of it. But we don't have it in Nigeria. And then the issue of proof of innocence, on when it involves financial issues, the burden of proof to show the source of legitimacy of your resources, of the assets you have, should be put upon the person who has that asset, not the other way around. Not where you're innocent until you're found guilty. No, when it involves financial crime, the onus is on you to prove yourself beyond reasonable doubt that the legitimacy of the source of your funding is right. And now, we talked about insecurity. To fix insecurity, we know what to do. You can't employ somebody from Pambegua and you send him to Borokiri to go and make peace. He does not even know the environment. Every community knows those who are criminals, who are good, who are bad, and the ugly. If you put security back to the communities, empower them, they will chase away the bandits from their villages. Those are putting taxes upon them. See, terror, lawful terror, chase away unlawful terror.
Right.
What is happening today? I come from Imo State. I come from a community known as Amagui Autonomous Community. The same thing that is happening in United States practically happening in part of Imo State today. People are being levied, people are being taxed, people are living under fear. They don't trust the governor of the state because they know that he's not trustworthy. They don't even trust the police because they don't know where the information will go to. But if you allow these communities, give security back to the communities and local government, right, empower them. That's what Obi did in Anambra State when he became governor. Right. He invited the communities, don't tell their sons, empower them. Let me tell you, if you empower the communities to handle their security, in 6 months, they will flush out the miscreants within their midst.
Right. Mr. Obiaraeri, thank you so much for joining us this morning. The great thing is, we started the conversation talking about Nigeria's economy at 63 and exactly what we can do to move it forward. And we do have the Honorable Minister joining us shortly to expand this conversation. But thank you very much for your time with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right.